Returning now to our top story on privacy concerns for users of Apple's iPhone. Apple today denying it's tracking customers' locations. Pete Warden is one of the two researchers who discovered the troubling data last week. He says he's happy Apple is fixing the problem. Pete, welcome to Bloomberg West. So you are happy that Apple has addressed this, but you say they haven't addressed everything, including your claim that this reveals sensitive information about your travels. Explain that.
So they've been very careful to say that they're not tracking location. The key thing is that you can still see in the data which neighborhoods people are actually traveling through. So you can actually follow people's movements at a coarse level as they travel around the country.
So Steve Jobs said today, we haven't as an industry done a very good job educating people, I think, as to some of the more subtle things going on here. As such, people jumped to a lot of wrong conclusions in the last week. Did you jump to any wrong conclusions? Or
we've stood by our conclusions. We've been quite happy with the research we put out, and we haven't heard anything back from Apple which contradicts what we've said.
Explain that a little bit further. What do you mean? What if they said that it doesn't jive with what you know to be the truth?
So really what they've been saying is that they aren't tracking locations, and what we're saying is that they aren't tracking very accurate locations. They're tracking at a rough neighborhood level.
That's a pretty that's some fine shaving of the truth. So they are tracking locations. They're just doing a crummy job of it. Is that your point?
They're saying it's very inaccurate. There's a lot of errors, and there's towers that show up 100 miles away, and it's very rough, and so it's not a problem.
But it's still generally right. Right?
You can see lots of errors showing up in the data. So it's very hard to use in a court of law, but we have lots of places where you can actually see people's travels around the country showing up in the data.
Well, and I'm being a little bit flip about it, but let me be serious about it. It's what you've written about in some great detail online and elsewhere is that it seems to you, because it's so inaccurate, that perhaps this really is an accident, an oversight by Apple. It's a bug that they need to fix. And what you wrote online today, I think, says just that, right?
Yeah, and what we've been saying all along is, don't panic. This is something we need to see fixed. But it's something that they've gone ahead and fixed, so we're feeling pretty happy about that.
So they said they're going to fix this with a software update. If they do that, does that mean your phone isn't going to work as well when you want to use a map or you need directions? I mean, how does that affect the actual performance of the iPhone?
So it shouldn't actually have any impact on the way that the phone works. It should be pretty transparent to the users.
So how do you see this software update working out?
I think it's basically going to plug the privacy problems that we spotted in that unencrypted file sitting on people's machines, and it shouldn't harm the way that the phone works.
Now, Jobs said Apple will be testifying in Congress. What do you think they have to explain better than they already have? What's the message that they really need to get across?
So I think the whole industry needs to explain how they're using people's location data. It's something that people see as very sensitive and private information. And we just want some control and some user permission on how it's used.
And as far as you understand it, how is it used?
That's beyond my pay grade.
So when he indicated that, he simply said other companies are not doing what we're doing, that's for sure. What did he mean by that?
I can't read his mind. I wish I knew more.
He also said, in explaining, why it took so long, when people accuse us of things, the first thing we want to do is find out the truth. That took a certain amount of time to track all of these things down, and the accusations were coming day by day. By the time we'd figured all of this out, it took a few days. So to you, does that signify this really was an oversight?
That's what we've been saying all along. It looked like there was a programming error where they were actually recording a lot more information than they thought they were. And they've gone ahead and acknowledged that there were several bugs there, which they've now fixed.
Pete, let me ask you really quickly. Is this a tempest in a teapot, or do you think this is really a big deal?
So I think the immediate issue, as we said, there was no proof that that data was going anywhere, that it was ever transferred off the phone, that anybody had actually suffered any immediate harm. I think what has been interesting has been seeing the public reaction to this. People seem to be surprised by some of the stuff that us technical people take for granted about how much information about their location is gathered as they carry their phones around.
All right, Pete Warden, one of the researchers who set off that tempest in a teapot. Thanks so much for joining us here on Bloomberg West.
Thank you.